I need somebody to top out. Yes. Yes, we can hear you. And we'll get this shit show on the road. Right now, I've got a special guest that's going to give us a special Halloween edition countdown. Welcome, Count Dracula. Yes, thank you. One Troy show. Two Troy shows. Three Troy shows. No, we're not going to go all the way. I'm just kidding.
Your mom can hear you.
Who?
Your mom.
Said what?
We can hear you.
All right, winner. That wing dinner.
Nice.
The Troy Show, episode 55. October 1st, 2021, take one.
Including murder. Alright, people, you heard the woman say that for the next 12 continuous hours, every crime is legal, including murder. Unfortunately, this is not the purge. So murder is not legal. And, I mean, I guess it's legal for some people. I think we'll get into that tonight. A little bit. Let's see who we got on here. Jumbo. Yeah, let me see who else, but that's okay. We're good. Anybody wondering what happened at the Troy Show set? All right. Well, nothing happened to it. We just didn't set it up tonight, primarily because we didn't have time. We have a lot of stuff going on right now, a ton of shit. So we're not burning our candles from both ends. We're burning it all the way through. We didn't toss that shit in the volcano. All right, I got these two staged and ready to Gizo. We're gonna, since it's Friday and it's October 1st, we're gonna tell some creepy, some eerie stories, and I think we're gonna do that the whole month. There are 5 Fridays in this month, I believe. Right?
4?
I think there's 5.
Is there?
I could be wrong. I've been wrong once.
All right, you're probably right, actually. You are.
I am right.
4, 5. Yes.
I'm right. You should just make a recording of that. That way you don't.
Make a recording that says you suck.
No, well, you know I do. But. Anyways, I'm just trying to say your vocal cords there. You just push the button. You were right, Troy. You were right, Troy. It's just, I'm looking out for you. That doesn't look like she thinks I'm looking out for them. I see Living Dead girls on here. If you know who you are, Living Dead girl.
Susan! Don't throw your balls at Troy live on the Facebook. People are gonna get jealous.
La 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 la.
Bonnie's gonna cry.
I know Living Dead girl knows who she is, so you might as well just say, yes, it's me. I'm watching.
This is her
Living
month.
Dead girl, right? This is her month to shine. Shizine. I done heard she got a east yard set up. Yeah, she said it's me. That's Jen. She got an east graveyard set up and a north graveyard set up and all kinds of shit. All right. We're going to tell a scary story. But first, while we wait for my producer to come back, because, she's a wanderer, yeah, a wanderer. She roam around. Who sang that, Jim? Gene?
Damn, if I can think of the name.
Mom, who sang The Wanderer? She roam
Wanderer?
around. Huh?
The Wanderer, not the Wanderer.
What did I say? Wanderer. Crack cocaine. Any hoodles. You have no idea the smile on her face regarding her yard. Yeah, I can bet, buddy. I can bet. Am I still live? I don't seem to be moving over here on this.
There's a
Oh,
lag.
yeah, I am. Yeah.
That's one.
Who said that?
Jen.
I
Any hoodles, any hoodles, any hoodles.
No, I ain't playing around. I'm serious. He comes up behind me. Y'all better at least warn me. That was an evil laugh.
Your mom said, I believe it's a singer called Dion.
I believe I can fly.
I think that's
Drop my
Seal.
drawers and touch the sky. Paul thinks about me every night and day. He thinks about me 'cause he's fucking gay.
I just came up with that.
Yeah.
Anyone? Woo! Thank you, baby. Oh, either way, thank you.
Donut. Oh, do you have, oh, there's your
Who
donut.
said it?
Jim.
I got this fancy High Life beer again. Damn, Chris got me hooked on it.
Chris the Fireman.
Christopher. I was perfectly fine being a broke redneck that drank Natty Light, and he's like, no. You gotta try this expensive shit. It gets you drunk just like the rest of them, only it costs you more. Like, yeah, sounds good.
Does it taste better?
It has a very, very strange taste. A very strange taste. The first 2 or 3 of them I drank, I did not like it. But then all of a sudden, there was something about it. I'm like, kind of tastes like burnt car leather and horse ass in it. I like it.
Nice.
Which I've always been fond of horse ass. So.
He never did let me try that coffee chocolate one or whatever.
I asked you if you wanted some.
Where
asked
is
me
it?
If you wanted some. Huh?
I didn't know he had it.
We don't have any more. Me and Chris drank it.
You suckers.
Oh shit! I got more donuts.
That's the same donuts.
Oh, is it? Well, I just double donut. All right, so before we get into the whole scary story thing, I want to talk about. Oh, hey, can you do me a favor? Go to the office and get my the pad that I was writing on. It's on the thing, and then hey, grab me another beer, please.
See it better?
No, I can't see it at all. Sorry, bro. My eyes are really bad. You can just read it to me if you want. You need this back?
No. I'm just trying to make
I can see this one. I just can't see that. No, I should see that.
Is it there?
I can see this one just fine.
Yeah,
This
okay.
one's good. Thank you, though.
Well, I'll see this one.
There you go.
Right?
I'm waiting for my pad.
You didn't see that, did you?
No.
Waiting for my pad.
Do I give him my show notes?
I don't know. I don't remember seeing it in there.
It is. It's on the counter. Nothing like trying to fill some dead air here.
Oh, we can fill dead air. Here, you can use my show notes. Along with filling the dead air. There.
We hang, point. Oh, there you go. Yeah, read that one.
Maybe this pass.
Page, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. Thought it was mine.
Yeah,
Fill
go
some
ahead.
dead air. So, call Chris the fireman. Shamu fell down the stairs again. Get her off me. I can't breathe. Quit playing with your sweaty testicle balls. I can't breathe.
That's great. Good job, dude. That's funny.
Wasn't like the Polly Boys.
It's close enough.
It worked.
Yeah.
They got the idea.
You'd have to imagine Paul's voice, but only gagging on, a mouthful of balls.
Oh, gross.
But he wouldn't gag on him. He'd grin.
It's true. Before we get to our scary story, I want to talk about Stone County, Missouri. Stone County, Missouri. Right off the bat, with a county that goes by the name of Stone County, I'm going, yeah, there's probably some crackheads, some meth addicts, There's
Normal-
definitely somebody snorting rock, huh?
Normal people would just think of a stone or a rock,
Yeah,
not
normal.
weed. Yeah, we
I'm
know.
an ex-drug dealer, so of course I'm
Maybe
gonna
back in
watch
1950.
TV.
That's probably when it was named.
Right. So Stone County, Missouri, a gentleman decided he was going to sell a catalytic converter on the marketplace. So, like any normal person, you place the item down, you take a good picture of it, and you post it along with the picture, right? That's the way I would do it. But if it were me, and I'm just throwing this out there as a suggestion to you next time, dude, all right? But the next time you're going to sell something and you're going to take a picture of listed on Marketplace, make sure that your gigantic bag of methamphetamines is not on the counter behind it with a scale and all kinds of shit.
OMG.
Yeah, he got popped.
You
He
think?
got popped selling that catalytic converter with his meth bag behind it. Come on down to Meth Head Tim's house. I'll sell you a catalytic converter, and you have some high live beer.
In the side of meth.
A side of meth. Wait, how do they do meth? Do they smoke? They smoke it.
Oh,
Right?
they smoke that. Okay.
Yeah.
Rocks your teeth right out of your head.
All right. Rock paper scissors.
So the cop says, open your mouth, let me see your teeth. You know what he's looking for.
Nutties. Yeah, so dude, really, I get it. Everybody's got to make their money. Everybody needs their hustle. But make sure your meth's hidden next time. What happened here?
And you know, Halloween said, the gremlins come creeping around.
How come this one didn't? Oh, crap. You got to pull up the YouTube one. Come on. Don't you know by now that the superstar doesn't do his own shit? That's what you peasants are for. Get it done. Get it done.
Hey, I need a peasant.
We can't share the same peasant?
You keep pretty busy. I can think of a couple peasants, but they don't work too good. Spend too much time crying. Quit playing with your sweaty.
I hit her. I hit her. I hit her. I hit her. And I kept hitting her. And I hit her again. And I hit her. I took a step back. I looked at myself and I was covered in blood. That's a quote from Candace Montgomery from her trial. I hit her, I hit her, I hit her, I hit her, and I hit her again. I kept hitting her, and I hit her again. I took a step back and I looked at myself. I was covered in blood. Wiley, Texas. June 1980. Friday the 13th. True story. Historical records say that it was an extremely hot, unusually hot day that day. And Wiley, Texas was a small town back then, about 3,800 residents. It's a suburb of Dallas, right? Mainly a farming community, but then residential cookie cutters popped up around the area for cheaper housing outside of Dallas, right? Well, a lady by the name of Candy Montgomery, her name is Candace Montgomery, but she goes by Candy. Her and her husband Pat, they moved to Wiley in 1978. They joined the First Baptist Church of Lucas, Texas, which is also just outside of Wiley, kind of one of the same. Right? You don't know where one starts and it begins. And they were wealthy. They were wealthy. As a matter of fact, Candy, she said, she told many people growing up that her goal in life was to marry wealth, marry a rich man, right? Well, Pat wasn't inherently wealthy at first, but he was an electrical engineer, and he rapidly built wealth. He was extremely intelligent. Now, his wife Candy described him as intelligent, funny, and cute. So one way of saying, use an ugly mother, but you're rich, and we're going to do this, right? So they move to Wiley, and they befriend Betty and her husband Alan. Their last name is Gore. Betty and Alan Gore. But Betty and Alan weren't wealthy. They were middle class. And they lived on a street called Dogwood Drive. And it's your average cookie cutter house, right? You live at 410 Dogwood. But they went to the same church that Candy and her husband Pat went to, and they became friends. As a matter of fact, their daughters became best friends. So, of course, with the kids being best friends, the kids spent a lot of time at one another's houses. Now, mainly, Betty and Alan Gore's kid slept at Candy's house, because it was a bigger house, a nicer house. Plus, Betty Gore was diagnosed with clinical depression, bipolar disorder, a whole lot of things, and she was an introvert. She stayed at home most of the time. As a matter of fact, she very, very rarely left the house without her husband. Which was weird because her husband traveled a lot for work, which left her home alone. She didn't like it. She would cry a lot. Right? Well, one day, the First Baptist Church of Lucas decided they were going to have a volleyball game. And as it turns out, Candy and Alan were on the same team together. And by all accounts, they bumped into each other during a play of the game. And it was that moment that Candy decides, and she tells this to the psychiatrist and everybody, she says that he smelled sexy. That's a quote from her. He smelled sexy. And so they started a relationship. Well, not right off the bat. What happened was a few days had passed and they had choir practice. And after choir practice, Candy gets into the car with Alan and just straight face tells him, I think you're attractive. What do we do about it? So they put together a plan. They put together a plan that they were going to hook up for coitus, right? Sex. But they put together a list of do's and don'ts, right? Do have sex. Don't get attached, right? Those sorts of things. And they said they were going to follow them. Again, to both of their accounts, they followed those things. They continued to see each other off and on for 8 months. Towards the end of that time, Candy says that the newness went away, right? She says, she said that the spice was gone and that she was going to start looking for a new lover because when she was with Alan, she had never felt more alive, right? She had the perfect life that she wanted. She had that front, the facade of being the church woman and the Sunday school teacher, and the perfect wife, perfect mother, perfect friend. But she didn't really find her husband attractive. And they had stopped touching each other at that point. So when she hooked up with Alan, she says she'd never felt more alive. It's odd because in an interview, he says the same thing. He had never felt more alive. It's kind of ironic that they never felt more alive at that point. Because I don't think Alan's wife, Betty, felt alive during that time. I think she was suffering from depression. Right? Kind of stuck in her own body, stuck in her home. Right? So 8 months goes by, she's lost that butterfly feeling, she's ready to move on to look for another lover. And they call it quits, mutually. Well, fast forward 2 months. They haven't seen each other in a sexual way in 2 months, but they have to see each other on a weekly basis. They live in the same town, their kids are best friends, they go to church together. So one night, or one morning, Betty and Alan's daughter, who had slept over at Candy's house the night before, she found out that the Montgomerys were going to see a movie that night. So she asked if she could go. So Candy said, well, I got to call your mom, and if it's okay with your mom, then yes.
She says, well, I also have swim practice later, and my swimsuit's at the house. Can you go get it? She says, yes. So she claims she called and no one answered. But now Alan, the husband, was out of town on a business trip. As a matter of fact, he was, at this point in time, he had already arrived at the airport in Dallas and was getting ready to fly out to St. Paul. So according to Candy, she decides she's going to drive over to 410 Dogwood and just ask Betty if it's okay and grab the swimsuit. That's what she does. She drives over there. Now, the Sunday school was putting on a puppet show that day, and she was supposed to go pick up the swimsuit and go back to the Sunday school to watch her kids and the other kids perform in the puppet show. She didn't make it. She gets to the Gore house, and she says that she asked Betty if her daughter could spend the night again. She said yes. She said, well, we're going to the movies tonight. We're going to go see The Empire Strikes Back. Right? Can she go? She says yes. She says, well, she also told me she has swim practice. Can I get her swimsuit? She says yes. She went to get it for her. They had a new baby. Betty and her husband, Alan, had a new baby, an infant. So Candy picks up, holds the baby, is playing with the baby, while Betty goes to retrieve the swimsuit. She's sitting at the kitchen table, waiting for Betty to come back with the swimsuit. Betty does not come back with the swimsuit. According to Candy, Betty returned with a 3-foot, 15-pound axe. Wooden handle. That's Candy's story, her version of it. What she says happens next, I find very difficult to believe, but that's just me. So, according to Candy, she says Betty asked her with axe in hand, are you having an affair with my husband? Betty says, not anymore. We ended it.
Candy.
Candy. We ended it 2 months ago. Betty says, you can't have him. She says, I don't want him. It was strictly for sex, and it's over. Betty says, don't touch him again. She says, I'm not going to. It's over. Then Candy says, can I just get the bathing suit? I'm very, very sorry. Can we talk about this later? Then it's a puppet show. So Betty says, yeah. She goes and gets the bathing suit. At this point, Candy had already put the baby back in the crib, which was in the kitchen, next to the laundry room and the utility room and the garage door entrance. So, she returns with the bathing suit and sets it on the kitchen table. Candy stands up, grabs the suit, walks to the kitchen door, turns around and tells her, I'm very sorry. According to Candy, Betty screams, you can't have him, grabs her, and throws her back towards the utility room. Candy was a small person. Everybody said she had a Hollywood smile. She was petite, right? So that much is believable. Yes, she could get thrown like that. Especially from a woman who's an introvert and having mental issues and depression and all that. So I can see that. This is where things go a little wonky for me. She says that Betty grabbed the axe that was leaning on the table and raised it towards her and screamed, you can't have him. At which point in time, Betty claims she puts both of her hands up in front of her face in an X and says, I don't want him, I don't want him, I promise, it's over. She claims that Betty swung the axe at her. She took the axe from Betty and struck Betty with the axe, knocking her to the ground. While Betty was on the ground, she raised the axe one more time and swung it at her again, hitting her again. She claims that she then leaned the axe up against the refrigerator stored in the utility room and started to walk out. At which point in time she claims that Betty, who now has been struck twice with an axe, supposedly gets up and rushes Candy from the back, hitting her, screaming, "You can't have him, you can't have him." Candy turns around and begs her not to do this. "Please stop. Please don't do this. I'm leaving. I'll never talk to him again, I promise," she says. At which point in time, Candy claims that Betty raised a single finger to her lips and softly said, "Shh." And for you to believe or not, I don't know, I wasn't there. There were only two people there, and we can only hear one side of the story. Why? Because according to Betty, who was put under hypnosis during the trial, she says that she was repressing anger from her childhood.
You mean Candy?
Candy. Candy was repressing anger from her childhood, where her mother beat her and then would tell her to shh, don't scream, shh. That's what she claims. So Candy claims that when Betty raised the finger and told her to shh, that she snapped, bringing up repressed memories of anger from her childhood. She says she snatched the axe again and started swinging. She did. Over and over and over and over. 41 times. 41 times. Now the coroner and the Texas Department of Investigations, by examining blood splatter, said that Betty Gore was alive for 40 of the 41 blows. The 41st blow, the axe caved in her forehead, sank one of her eyeballs into her mouth, and the axe got lodged in her skull. They said it would have taken quite some force to rock the axe back and forth to dislodge it from Betty's face. But that's what happened. It was rocked back and forth until it was removed. When it was removed, most of Betty's brain fell out over the floor. And Candy says, at that moment, she knew she was dead. She looks down at her arms and her hands. She's covered in blood. If that's the case, if that's how it went down, it would be self-defense. Yeah. Self-defense with maybe a little bit of aggravated manslaughter for the mental snap and, the 41 blows with an axe. Right? I'm 285 pounds. I'm going to tell you what, to swing an axe 40 times, 41 times, you're either not all there up here or you're just full of rage. Because it's difficult. That's what she claims. And if that was true, if it was self-defense, then why wouldn't she just simply put the axe down, turn around, go to the kitchen of the house she was very familiar with? They spent a lot of time there. Grab the home phone, dial 911, say, "I just killed my friend," in self-defense. That's not what she did. No. She went to the Gord family master bathroom. With all of her clothes on, she stepped in the master bath shower. She took a bath, a shower. Got everything off as best she could. When she got out, she realized that she didn't get all the blood off of her face. She wiped the blood off of her face and then turned around and there was more blood on her face. At this point in time, she claims she realized she'd been struck in the top of the head with the axe. It was bleeding. So, she hasn't cleaned anything up. The bathroom looks like a murder scene, even though it didn't happen in the bathroom. What does she do? She leaves. And she drives home, 10 minutes away. She goes upstairs, takes her clothes off, gets in the shower, puts a Band-Aid on her forehead or on her head, and she says to the jury, I found another burgundy shirt. I found jeans of the same shade of the jeans I'd had on earlier. I put them on, and I went to the church. Right? Well, now you're trying to cover shit up. This is, at this point, it seems to me like it was premeditated. Are you gonna wear a dark burgundy shirt there to begin with? Maybe that's what she picked, maybe she didn't. But when she changed into clothes that were very similar, in her own words, to what she had on before. Why would someone do that? Why would they do that? Unless they didn't want anybody to know that they had killed someone and gone on and showered. So she drives to the school for the church. At this point in time, she's already missed the puppet show. She claims, she tells people that she went and talked to Betty. Time got away from her. She decided to drive into Plano, Texas, outside of Dallas, to go to Target to get some Father's Day cards, right? And then when she got to the Target, she realized her watch had stopped and she was late. So she didn't go into the Target, she said. She turned around and went straight back to the church. At that point, she'd already missed the puppet show. She tells that story 4 times. 4 times in 30 minutes to 4 different people. Okay, it's a lot of detail to give somebody if you're not planning something, or if you're not trying to hide something. So, she pours the kids some iced tea, some sweet tea, and they bring the kids the snacks, and she stays the whole rest of the day, and they leave. Later that night, her and her husband, her child, and the newly deceased Betty Gore's wife, her daughter, they all go to the movies to see The Empire Strikes Back. They come home. Kids go to sleep. Candy gets a phone call on the house phone. It's Alan, Betty's husband. He says, Candy, it's Alan. Have you heard from Betty? She says, yes, I talked to her this morning, but I haven't seen her or heard from her since. He says, it's very unusual for her not to answer. She's got to be home. She doesn't leave home without me. So, Alan decides to call one of his neighbors that lives on Dogwood. He says, can you go check on Betty? So the neighbor goes. He sees both the family cars there because, you know, Alan had a ride taken to the airport at that morning. So Betty's car was in there too, along with Alan's. The garage door was up, the garage light was on, and the living room light was on. So the man goes back and he waits for Alan to call him from his hotel room. And when he does, he says, Alan, both cars are there, lights on, garage door's up, and the living room light's on. And Alan says, the garage door's up? He says, yes, why? And he says, Betty's very afraid of everything. She would never leave the garage door open, especially at night. Can you please go back? Well, at this point, the neighbor is thinking the worst. So he recruits 2 more male neighbors, 2 more husbands, to go in with him. Because now they have Alan's permission to go into the house. He says to them, break the door in, break a window, whatever. Imagine their surprise when they grabbed the front door and it was unlocked. So they walk in. One of the neighbors had a cordless phone. And he had the phone with him. The 3 men start walking towards the bedrooms. And in the house, you walk in the house from the front door. You have a living room. You have a kitchen. You have a little dining room, a utility room, and the garage. And to your right, you have the bedrooms. 3 bedrooms. 1.5 bath. Well, as they're walking towards the bedroom door, they hear somebody crying. Now, all 3 men say in their reports, they instantly recognized it to be an infant. So they changed their path and went towards the crying infant. And they found an infant in the crib, covered in its own shit, and vomit. And its voice was hoarse because it had been screaming and crying for hours and hours and hours. Just feet away from its murdered mother. So they find the baby. And the original neighbor turns and says to the other two, something's wrong. So the three men open the bedroom doors, they see nothing. They open the bathroom door, they see nothing. Now they decide to go back into the master bathroom and open that master bedroom and open that bathroom door. And they said, as soon as they opened it, they said, she's dead. She's dead. They didn't know what to do, and the phone rang, the cordless phone rang, scared them, and he answered it. It was Alan. Alan says, are you in the house? He says, yes. He said, what'd you find? The guy says to him, and I quote, Alan, doesn't look good. He says, why? Where's Betty? He says, I don't know. Find her. So they continue to look. And they open the utility closet. And the man says to Alan, Alan, she's been shot. Her head's wide open. She's missing an eyeball. That's how bad she looked from an axe. They thought she'd been shot. If you've ever seen a gunshot victim, the pressure of the projectile splits a head open, right? That's how hard she'd been hit, how many times she'd been hit. So they call the Wiley police. The Wiley police calls the Dallas police for assistance. And meanwhile, Alan calls and wakes Candy up and says, Candy, I got bad news. She's dead. Can you watch our daughter until I can get home and break it to her that her mother's dead? She says yes. According to Alan and Pat, both the husbands, Candy was crying hysterically. So, he returns home from his trip, takes custody of the daughter, tells her the mother's deceased. They have no clue. They have no suspects. They decide to have the funeral at the church. Both families attended, including Candy. She went to the funeral. She comforted the children of the woman that she murdered in church. The next day, a Saturday, she's out front and she's cutting bushes, shrubs in her front yard. And she gets a phone call from the police asking her for her shoes because they found a bloody footprint. And they wanted to see if it was hers or not. So she takes the hedge clippers and she chops the sandals up and disposes of them. Not good enough, because she also left a bloody thumbprint on the refrigerator door. But she insisted that that print must have been there from her being there earlier, and it must have just gotten covered in blood. Cops really don't have enough to get her. So they bring in Alan. And they said, tell us your history between the two families. And he does. And then he's done. And they said, well, anything else? Did you ever do business with them? Did you go on vacation? Did you owe them money? Did they owe you money? No. So he gets done and he leaves. Well, they call him back in and they said, we forgot to ask you one question. Standard procedure in a homicide investigation, have you ever had an affair? And he says, yes. And they said, well, with who? He says, Candy. I said, Candy Montgomery? Yeah. But I ended it 2 months ago. We ended it 2 months ago. So they call Candy back in. She doesn't take an attorney with her. She goes back in by herself. And they ask her, did you have an affair with Alan Gore? She says, yes, but we ended it 2 months ago. I said, don't you think that was important? You should have told us. And I didn't really think about it. So Candy decides she's going to recruit an attorney from her church who does civil litigation. So he's never done a prosecution or a defense, never been a defense attorney. But she recruits him, and he takes the job. And she confides in him, I did it. I did it. That's when he takes her to the psychiatrist, puts her under. Right, repressed memory of the mother saying, shh. And they took that shit to trial. As a matter of fact, this would have been the trial of a century in that little Dallas town. They had just opened a new courthouse, a more updated courthouse. The judge reopened the old courthouse for this one trial because he said the main courtroom was the largest in the city, and there was going to be a lot of people there. He was right. It was standing room only. It was packed the whole time, the whole trial, day after day. Finally, Candy gets on the stand with a monotone voice, lackadaisical, and gives her account. And the attorney says, the jury's going to hang you if you don't show some emotion. She refuses. So what does he do? He grabs the axe off the evidence table, still covered in blood, by the way, and he sets it in front of her on the stand, and she won't look at it. He takes it and he pushes it towards her. He touches her with it. And she screams bloody murder. And she starts yelling and screaming and going shh, shh, and rocking. That's when they give their case of mental instability. The jury found her not guilty of homicide. It said it was self-defense and that the excessive blows were brought on by repressed memory. It took them 3.5 hours to come back with a not guilty verdict. People in the courtroom stood up and screamed, murderer, murderer. In a town of 3,800 people, one church, 12 stores, one school. She had to get out of there. They did. They moved. Her and Pat. She got away with murder. She hacked up her friend. She hacked up the woman that she had been sleeping with, that woman's husband, that she was watching her daughter. It took her to see Star Wars or Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, whatever the hell it was. Right? She says in the trial that she was upset because when she got the phone call saying that she was dead, Phil Donahue was on and she missed part of it. Doesn't sound like repressed anger to me. It sounds like violent, deliberate, premeditated axe murder. Just happened to be on the day he was out of town. Happened to be at a time when the whole town was at a puppet show. You just happened to have clothes that matched the clothes you had on prior. You swung the axe 41 damn times. 40 times she was alive and watching you do it. One of the swings almost severed her left arm. It was barely hanging on. There was nobody at home on the block. They were all either at work or watching the puppet show. It was perfect. It was perfect. No one could hear her scream. And trust me, she screamed. She had to scream. 40 times, get hit with an axe, but scream. Nobody heard it. Candy says that the screams haunt her. Sounds of her screaming, Betty screaming in pain. Perfect timing. 1,000 people have told that story 1,000 times. Because it's true. As a matter of fact, there was a book written about it called Evidence of Love. And from that book, there was a Hollywood film made called Murder in a Small Town. Hell, the lady that played Candy won a Golden Globe and an Emmy. Now, all these years later, Hulu is picking it up. They're doing a miniseries on it. Right? So why am I special? What makes this any different than all the other people that have told it before? Well, I told you in my post, I'll tell you a scary story with a twist. Here comes the twist. Betty and Alan Gore lived at 410 Dogwood Drive, Wiley, Texas. I lived at 412. The house immediately to its left, right next door. I lived there for a little over a year and a half. Several years after the murder. I lived there with a girl that I was dating and her parents. Before we moved in, we were over there for a barbecue one day, and her dad decides to tell me the story, and I thought he was full of shit. I'm like, nah, no way. No way. But then everybody else at the barbecue shut up real quick, and they all started talking about it, telling me this and that and this and that. The current owners at the time split their time between Pennsylvania and Wiley, Texas. And when they were gone, this girl's dad watched the house for them. He would go in, he would check on the furnace, he would check on the subcon, he would check on this and that, whatever. Right? So he tells me the story. He's like, you want to go in? I said, sure, let's go in. He's like, all right, well, it's getting dark, so I'll take you over there tomorrow. Why? I'd rather take you during the day. Okay. Well, that's what happened. We stayed the night that night because it was about a 45-minute drive back to our apartment on the other side of Dallas. Right? We stayed the night. The next day, I woke up, went in there. Her mother had cooked breakfast. Very good cook. My fat ass ate breakfast, and then I said, take me to the murder house. He did. He acted very strange while he was in there. By the way, maybe I should mention that he too was a deacon at the church. Currently at the time. He'd also been a deacon at the church during the time of the murder. And they knew both couples. But that's not why he was acting weird. He was acting very, very strange in the house. And he showed me the utility room, and he showed me this room and that room, and he's like, okay, come on, we gotta go. So we left. So now fast forward a couple of months. We go over there every now and then I'd ask questions about it. And he seemed uncomfortable. Well, a few more months goes by, and we were trying to save money, consolidate bills and this and that. And they said, hey, just move in, stay with us for a while, and get things organized. So we did. Well, after we'd been there for a few weeks, he says to me, I gotta go over there and I gotta check the furnace. You wanna go? I said, I'm all right. He said, well, just walk with me. All right, I'll walk with you. I walk in, he does what he needs to do, and he leaves. Nothing really unusual. While I was standing in the house at that time, though, which, by the way, that would have been the second time I was in the house, I felt strange. I don't know how to explain it, I just felt sick. I was sick for a few hours after I left, and I started feeling fine again. But I decided I was going to go lay down. And our bedroom window was about 15 feet from the utility room window where the murder took place. And as I laid down, I thought I heard something. I got up and looked, I didn't see anything. I laid back down, I heard it again. I blew it off. I went to sleep. I don't know how long I was asleep, but I do know that when I woke up, it was dark. And I woke up to a noise. The same noise I heard before I went to sleep. Again, I didn't say anything about it. Went outside, smoked a cigarette. Was going to mow the lawn for him. As I went to start the lawnmower, I heard the same noise again. So I went and I said something to Ted, to Dad. And I said, did you hear any of that? And he's like, just ignore it. I ignored it. That night, we heard it again. Me and the girl both. I could tell she heard it because the first time it made the noise when she was in the room, she raised her head and looked at the window. I didn't say anything. It happened again. This time she didn't look around. I said, what was that? She goes, cool. This went on for quite a while. And it got to the point where every time he would go in there to do something or to check on something or to put their mail and their newspapers in there, I'd go with him. So one day, he asked me if I could do it for him because he was going to be going into Dallas. He said, just wait for the mailman to put the mail in the box and grab the mail, grab the newspaper, put it inside, shut the door, come out and lock it. That's it. Don't do anything else. Okay. I was on the Wiley Volunteer Fire Department. So I asked him, so what do I do if I get a call? Also, I was armed security at an extrusion plant called Extruders, also in Wiley. But I worked overnight. Well, that wasn't my night to work anyway. So I says, if I get a call, do you want me to tell Linda, his wife, so that she could do it? He's like, no, Linda doesn't go. Okay. So I did. Got the mail, got the paper, put it in, shut the door, locked it, and left. No problems, no issues, no nothing. But it kept bothering me. Why Linda doesn't go over there? Why Linda doesn't go over there? So I asked him that night, which was a mistake, and he says she's not allowed to go over there. Okay. No, says I don't let Jenny go over there either, or my sister. All right. I did that. Okay, so after I'd lived there a few months, by the way, people did then and they still do now. People drive by the house all the time. It's like a tourist attraction. The month that it happened in is one of the busiest months, and so is the month of October. Cars drive up and down that street all the time, even 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes people will get out and take a picture in front of the house. Of course, back then, there was no cell phones. They'd have an actual camera take a picture, and wait. Well, I thought it would be funny to start messing with people. When people would get out of the car and start to walk up to take a picture, I'd slam a rock or something on the wooden fence and watch them run. I thought that was fun. Yeah. Well, people used to tell me all the time, oh, we can hear her scream in there. We can hear the baby crying. We can hear this and that. We can hear an axe hitting the refrigerator. I don't know if that's true or not. I never heard it. I never heard anybody scream. I never heard a baby cry. I never heard anything that sounded like an axe hitting the door. But I heard stuff. And what I would hear the most sounded like a woman crying. Not a baby. It sounded like a woman crying. And like a deep, deep, like heartbroken cry. 30, 40 seconds of it. And then a laugh. A laugh that was so creepy, so eerie, that every time I heard it, it made my hair stand up. Some people don't believe in ghosts, spirits, supernatural. Some people do. The people that don't believe it will never believe it until something happens to them. But I believed it. And even though I never heard the screams or the baby cry or the axe hitting, the crying And the laughing was real. I heard it. Came from there. Came from that house. Didn't make any sense though. This is a brick house. It was weird. It was very strange. Well, it clicked on me one day. It dawned on me that every time I heard the cry and the laugh, it was the same volume, the same level of noise, whether I was outside in between the two houses where I usually smoke, or in the bedroom. How the hell is that possible? Well, then this girl started acting really weird, doing and saying really strange things. And I noticed that her stepmother, Linda, was doing them too. So I went to Ted one day and I said, what's going on with this? It just seems really weird. And he's like, well, we're trying our best to get out of this house. We can't take it anymore. There's a house about 10 houses down on the same street that we went into contract with. There's some foundation problems. We're trying to get out. They did end up moving. Same street, but away from the murder house. One night, towards the end of our stay there, he decides to confront his daughter about something. He asked her why she hadn't been to church in a few weeks. She doesn't answer him. She walks away, and I thought, oh, geez, that's not good. So he goes in the bedroom, and he opens it, and says, just tell me, why haven't you been to church? She doesn't answer him. She get out. Now she walks back into the living room. He follows her. Now Linda stands up. Says, why didn't you go to church? She doesn't say anything. She walks over and she grabs the keys to my truck. I'm like, bitch, where you going with my truck? I didn't say that for my parents, but I thought it. Where you going with my truck? She just walked into the door, and her dad steps in between her and the door. And he asked her again, why haven't you been going to church? She says, we don't go to church anymore because that's where the bad people go. We, she said. And I thought to myself, now's a real good time to find another girl. Out. I should have left. Well, she said it and she sounded weird. So again, I stepped out, smoked a cigarette. Now he comes out and he follows me and he tells me that every now and then that the females in his house act strange. So do the females on the right side of the house. But he's talked to the husband there and they act weird. They've mentioned things before about the Axe and Betty and Candy and all of this stuff, and he wanted to move them away from there. Now we go and we move. I remember the day we moved them because we didn't rent a truck. We walked everything from one house to the next, right? Except for the big furniture, and we set that on top of the car. Her mom drove, and we walked alongside and held it, and we unloaded it. At this point, we had already moved out, and a couple of months goes by, and we went over there, and this was one of the last times I ever went to Dogwood. I asked him if things got any better, and he said it was like night and day. A difference from when they moved. It wasn't acting weird anymore, neither was her sister or any of that stuff, right? So, can an event such as a brutal axe murder leave behind an energy that can affect people? I believe so. I do. Are ghosts and spirits real? I believe they are. Right? I believe it because I was raised with it. So next Friday, I'm going to tell you the story about a man named Lee in a house called Valley Forge, also a suburb of Dallas, and also my childhood home. And Mom, don't spoil it for anybody. Lee was a one. All right, guys. That's it. So, axe is up. And I guess the moral of this story is You churchgoers, don't be hypocrites. Nowhere in the Bible does it say it's okay to hack up your neighbor if you're pissed off at him. All right, guys. We got a lot of work to do with this haunted house. We're going to call this one an episode. Hey, listen. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you want to know more about the axe murder, just Google it. You can type in Wiley axe murder. You can type in Candy Montgomery. You can type in Betty Gore. Now, by the way, how damn ironic is it that her last name was Gore? Google the definition of gore and go, is this predestined? Is it supposed to happen? It's a little weird. All right? Okay, so we got a shit ton of work to do in this haunted house. We open tomorrow. Yay. And we still don't have a complete storyline. So we're going to be here all night, finishing up the haunted house, finishing the storyline, getting everything ready, trying to figure out the makeup and all that stuff. But we're running a special, right? So the cost to get in is minuscule. It's $10, right? Where are you going to go do any type of entertainment for $10? You're not, right? But that being said, if you bring your student ID, you can get in for $7. Right? That's pretty good. And my wife and producer says that if you purchase your ticket at the door instead of Eventbrite, if you buy it at the door and you mention the Troy Show, you're not going to pay $10 to get in. You're paying $15. So, we hope that you come by. By the way, the extra $5 is going to go to my 85-inch TV fund, right? Remember, we've been talking about that for a year now. I'm disappointed that y'all haven't gotten together and been like, buy Troy this TV because he's so awesome and we love his show, right? So,
All 5 of
buy me a TV.
them. You?
I think that's it. If we have any comments, anybody want to say anything?
Kathy
Hey,
says
come around and put
hello
this on the DJ program.
just now.
Huh?
Kathy said hello just now.
Hello. Oh, by the way, I don't know if Wayne's watching right now or not, but Wayne, I know you're going to come back and watch it at least. We're praying for you and your mother, and your whole family and friends. We very much hate to hear that she's about to pass, and our thoughts are definitely with you, Wayne.
He was on. I don't think he's on anymore.
He said he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to be on or not, because apparently they said that his mother only has a few days left. Speaking of that, people, if you know Mark, the founder and owner of Family Pawn and Jewelry here in Lake County, he's a really good guy. Did a lot for the community, did a lot for people around the community, a lot for families. I know probably 12 or 13 pawn shop owners. I only like one, and that was Mark. Mark passed away this week. He had a widowmaker heart attack a few seconds after dropping his daughter off at school. So his funeral is tomorrow morning. It is at the First Baptist, I think, First Baptist of Claremont, I believe is what they said. If you go to their website, to the Family Pawn and Jewelry website, you'll see it in there. All right. So I think that's it. Yes. Again, we hope you come by and visit us at the Haunted House. We will be open the whole month of October, Saturdays and Sundays, except for the last week, which is the week of Halloween. We'll be open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay. $10 to get in. $5 for gas driving over. $1.50 for a drink, maybe some snacks, and then about $15, $20 in soap to clean the shit out of your underwear.
That's disgusting. Nobody can shit until they get outside.
Yeah, we don't want any code browns. We did have some code yellows last time. Yeah, we had some code yellows. So again, if we peed during the haunted house, it's nothing to be ashamed about. Just I'm just going to blast it all over Facebook, but you don't have to be changed about it. Are we done?
Yes.
I think we got so much work to do that we're done. Did I keep it short like I wanted to?
No.
How long?
You're over an hour.
Some bitch. I don't know why I can't. It's because I love the sound of my own
No,
voice.
we started at
Right.
like 35.
Sometimes I sit and pretend I'm Casey Kasem.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
You only have 5 viewers right now. It
That's
was
okay.
a low night. Nobody liked you tonight.
I don't mind it. As long as I've got one, even if it's Jack. Last name Niehoff.
Don't forget to say it.
Luke name Paul.
Oh, you didn't say it yet?
All right, people, we're going to call this an episode. We're going to end it right now. So, now listen. I'm going to end this way I do every time, just because it's a little bit different. Doesn't mean we're not going to do it the same way. All right? I say this from the bottom of my heart. Fuck a Mendez. Fuck Holly Short. Fuck that fat bitch tonight. People, treat everyone you come into contact with love, kindness, and respect like you're dealing with a Mendez, and then tell them to go fuck themselves. All right? I'll be here for you next Friday. Jack will be here for you next Friday. Gene, all of us will be here for you next Friday. We're going to tell another story. This time we're going to tell the story of Lee. Lee. Yeah. And we're out, people. Don't you know we're going to end it with a Leo cover song? Leo's badass.
Thriller.
When I jump off here, I really hope my gun doesn't come out closer. I feel like it's going to. I got it. All right, guys, listen. I'm not going to say goodbye to everybody like I usually do because I've got to go smoke a cigarette. I love you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next Friday. Happy Halloween month.